And welcome back, everyone, for week 16 of the 2015 NFL season. I'm a little late with my video this week. We're so busy at this time of the year. Let's get you straight to the picks. The first game we're going to look at has Pittsburgh going to Baltimore, where the Ravens are 10-point dogs at home. You might not see that again for a long time. You know, the Ravens, despite all of their injuries all year, have been keeping it pretty close. That is until Joe Flacco, their quarterback, got hurt. And in the last two games, the Ravens have lost by a combined 50 points. Meanwhile, Pittsburgh has scored 30 points in their last 6 games, 30 points or more, and that was against some pretty good defenses as well. Seattle, Cincinnati, Denver last week. The Ravens have nothing to prove here, and, you know, they're sitting at the third pick overall in next year's draft. Meanwhile, Pittsburgh needs to win. They've got the Jets nipping at their heels, so I think this will be an easy win for them. So let's lay the points, and let's take Pittsburgh minus 10. The second game we'll look at has Cleveland going to Kansas City, where the Chiefs are 12-point favorites at home. You know, it's one win in the last 9 for Cleveland and one cover in their last 8. Meanwhile, that's the reverse for Kansas City. They've been winning and covering almost all of their games recently. You know, the Chiefs still have a lot to play for. They still have a shot at winning the AFC West title. And meanwhile, Cleveland is sitting at the number 2 pick. I don't think the Browns have much to play for in this game. Kansas City also is in a tie with Pittsburgh and the Jets, although they do have the tiebreakers. Lots of incentive for Kansas City to win. They're a much better team. Let's lay the points. Let's take Kansas City minus 12. The third game we're going to look at has St. Louis going to Seattle, and the Seahawks are 13-point favorites at home. You know, that was a nice win by the Rams last week. You should have seen it coming. It was their probably last game that they're ever going to play in St. Louis, and I believe they had just axed their offensive coordinator. That usually lasts for one game, though, and the offense might revert back to their ways if they were one of the worst offenses in the league. And meanwhile, Seattle has a lot to play for. They're in a dogfight right now with my Minnesota Vikings for the 5th spot in the NFC. The team that makes number 5 will probably have to play the NFC East winner, or if you drop down to 6, you'll probably have to play Green Bay in Lambeau Field. You want to avoid that. You know, this is also a good chance for some revenge for Seattle. For that Week 1 loss at the hands of the Rams, I think Seattle is just playing like monsters right now. They're really frightening. They've outscored their opponents 103-26 in the last 3 games. So let's lay the points. Let's take Seattle minus 13. And the fourth game we're going to look at is Indianapolis at Miami. The Dolphins are 2.5-point favorites at home. It's do or die time for the Colts. If they lose, they're probably out of the playoffs. It looks like Matt Hasselbeck was healthy enough to play this week. You know, at the age of 40, he probably doesn't have much time left. This could be his last go-around. I think he'll play very well. You know, Miami's just been mailing it in the last couple of weeks. One of the biggest disappointments of the year are the Dolphins. I actually think Indianapolis will win this game outright, and you get the points. So let's take Indianapolis plus 2.5. Here are my over-under plays. The first game we'll look at has Jacksonville going to New Orleans. The number is 52. Not much defense in this game. Jacksonville ranked 30th and the Saints ranked 32nd. This might be one of the highest scoring games of the year. Let's take over the 52. The next game we'll look at is what we talked about. Pittsburgh's at Baltimore. That number is 47. I like the way Pittsburgh has been scoring points. 35 or more is what I expect. Meanwhile, Baltimore will chip in. Let's take over the 47 in that game. Another game we talked about was St. Louis at Seattle. That's a pretty low number for a Seattle team that's really scoring a lot of points. I think they could do it on their own. So let's take over the 40.5. And another game we mentioned, the Indianapolis-Miami game, is at 44. I don't see very much offense in this game, so let's take under the 44. Here's why Let's Take the Man's Money parlay play. We came so close last week, if not for one of the most ridiculous plays of the year in that Atlanta-Jacksonville game. But you know what? Lots of time to make some Boxing Day money. Here are my picks. We'll take Pittsburgh minus 10, Kansas City minus 12, Seattle minus 13. We'll take over 40.5 in the St. Louis-Seattle game. We'll take under 44 in the Indianapolis-Miami game, and we'll take Indianapolis on the money line. A $25 bet will win us $1,365.87 just in time for Boxing Day. Here are my straight-up plays for this week. The Thursday night game has San Diego going to Oakland. The Chargers might have played their last game at home last week. I think there might be an emotional letdown in this game as well. So let's take Oakland. I like Philadelphia to squeak one out over Washington on Saturday. That should be a great game. We'll take Carolina to stay undefeated by beating Atlanta. I'll take Tampa Bay over Chicago. I mentioned Kansas City over Cleveland. I'll take Buffalo over Dallas. I think Dallas is on their 5th or 6th quarterback of the year. I'll take Houston to upset the Tennessee Titans. You know, that game has been pulled off the books the last couple of days. I really wanted to include that in my parlay play. Tennessee had been favored. I think Houston's going to win that game outright, so we'll go with Houston. I like Indianapolis to upset Miami, a game I talked about earlier. I think the New England Patriots will squeak one out over the Jets and try to knock the Jets out of the playoffs. This game will be fun to watch too. I'll take Pittsburgh over Baltimore. We'll go with Detroit over San Francisco. Another upset, why not? Let's go with Jacksonville over New Orleans. I realize the Drew Brees hurt his foot, so he might not make it through the whole game. He actually scored more points after the injury last week, so that's why I took the over in that game. But I like Jacksonville with the upset. I think Arizona will hold off Green Bay, but keep in mind I am a Vikings fan. I really want Arizona to win that game. Seattle should rout the poor St. Louis Rams this week. I'll take my Minnesota Vikings over the Giants, and a Christmas present for all of us Vikings fans is Odell Beckham Jr. gets suspended. Thank you very much. And on Monday night, I think Denver will beat Cincinnati. I don't think the Broncos will lose 2 in a row at home, and I don't think the backup quarterback McCarron will win back-to-back on the road. So let's go with Denver in that game. Okay, those are my picks for this week. Good luck to you. Make sure you check out gioknows.com, my website. We're going to be voting for the GeoKnows Awards in a couple of weeks, and we're going to be going to the gioknows.com website to do that. And also check us out on Facebook, the YouTube Prognosticators page. I'll leave a link to both of those below. Okay. For the GeoKnows YouTube channel, I am Geo. Merry Christmas, everyone. And let's take the man's money.